Welcome, and thanks for joining us. I'm Catherine Mockler, and I'm the publisher of the Watch Your Head website and one of the editors of the Watch Your Head print anthology published by Coach House Books, which we're here to celebrate tonight. I'm joining you from the Bruce Peninsula, the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg Nation, the people of the three fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. I'd like to further give thanks to the traditional keepers of this land, the Chippewa of Saugeen and the Chippewa of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. Coach House Books operates on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. I'd also like to acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Indigenous communities have been at the forefront of environmental activism since colonization, protecting and defending land, water, and resources, as well as preserving livelihood, culture, sovereignty in the face of genocide and oppression that continues to this day. The opposition of the Wet'suwet'en heredity chiefs to the coastal GasLink pipeline and the violence the RCMP enacts on this community is just one example of present-day colonialism and environmental racism that we strive to fight against. If you're joining us here tonight, I'm assuming you have an interest in social justice, climate justice, fighting colonialism, white supremacy, racism, and inequity, all of which intersect with the climate crisis and is what this anthology is all about. I'd like to thank Alana Wilcox, Crystal Sikma, James Lindsay, Ingrid Paulson, Tally Goran, and everyone at Coach House for making this project possible and making such a beautiful book. Alana Wilcox, the editorial director of Coach House, is going to say a few words. Thank you.
And thank you, Catherine. It's nice to see so many people here. Here in Toronto today, the weather felt definitely a bit like the apocalypse, so it feels like the perfect day to be talking about the climate crisis and climate justice. I'm so proud that we've been able to publish this book. It was so great to work with Catherine, but it just feels so important to have a thing you can have in front of you to remember always that this needs to be front and center in everything that we do, especially right now when things are so chaotic in the rest of the world. So I'm absolutely honored to be publishing it, and thrilled that you are all here to help us celebrate its launch out there into the world. So I want to thank all of the editors. So here it is, the book, hot off the press. And we've got a long list of editors. Thank you so much to all of you for your hard work in assembling such a gorgeous, beautiful assortment of like brilliant pieces of writing. It's such an amazing cross-section of what's happening in literature in North America right now. And I'm so happy to see it all in one place. Our editors are Matt Anand, Stephen Collis, Jennifer Dorner, Catherine Graham, Elena Johnson, Kinesia Lubrin, Kim Mannix, Catherine Mockler, June Pack, Sina Karas, Shazia Ramji, Rasikra Revolva, Yusuf Sadi, Sanchari Sur, and Jacqueline Valencia. So thank you to all of you. Most especially thank you to Catherine, whose idea this whole thing was and who has worked so hard to make such an incredible website. I hope that within each of your homes right now, you'll do like a giant whoop and a big clap for Catherine. Hopefully your neighbors won't think you're losing it. I would also like to thank Crystal Sikma, who did an amazing job designing the book, and Ingrid Paulson, who did such an ominous cover. James Lindsay for organizing this, and Tally Varon, who doing all of our tech work right now. I'd also very much like to thank Kirby at Knife Fork Book for hosting us tonight. I think that was all that I needed to say. I mean, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. If you're here, you know what we're fighting for, and you're on side. So I encourage you all to keep to help us get this book out there into the world. The proceeds go to climate charities, Raven Trust and Climate Justice Toronto, and we'd love to do anything we can to help raise money for two totally worthy causes. So thanks again to Catherine and to all of you. And I'm going to turn things over to Kirby.
Thank you, Alana. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see so many of you here tonight. I know that you're here for one reason. Watch your head. It's extraordinary. It's wonderful to have the book in hand. There's full color illustrations, which are just absolutely stunning. There's so much care devoted to 85 contributors, 15 editors, one visionary publisher. By the way, Coach House, your fall collection, it's breathtaking. Well done. Fall 2020, Coach House Press. The Nick Broussard is launching this coming Friday evening with its 4 editors. I know you're going to want to attend that as well. We're going to be posting the link where you can actually purchase your copy of Watch Your Head throughout the evening. Please take a moment and own this book for yourself. As you know, all of the proceeds are going to Ravens Trust and Climate Justice Toronto. One more thing to share and prep. At the heart of Watch Your Head project, in all of its manifestations, website, print anthology, readings, events, is a desire not only to draw attention to the present and future implications of the climate crisis, but also to inspire people to get involved in climate justice action and solidarity initiatives. I know one of the original ideas for launching Watch Your Head was to have numerous events across this great nation and internationally. Don't hold yourself back. Make it happen. You're going to be watching a series of videos that have been sent in from 9 authors that are contributors in this book. It's being closed captioned. There's a little closed caption tab at the bar at the very base of the screen. So feel free to hit that for your closed captioning. I'm going to return at the end to once again share with you how you can purchase the book. Please enjoy the launch of Watch Your Head.
Hi everyone, my name is June Back. I'm one of the visual arts editors for the Watch Your Head anthology. I'm very happy to share our first print edition today. Watch Your Head is very young, but we already have many artists participating all across Canada and even all the way from Korea. This shows that the climate crisis is a global issue. The artworks that you see in our online and print anthology range in mediums such as photography, video, drawing, painting, and performance and such. And the images that you see in these works sometimes show the daily impact of the climate crisis. Sometimes they alert us of a possible future disasters, or sometimes they are visual essays documenting change of our landscape. It has been an amazing experience working with so many artists who are so generous with their work. I hope we can continue this project and raise awareness and urgency of the climate justice and climate crisis. Here are some of the examples of artworks that are in our online and print anthology.
Open plastic hampers. Pop open plastic lids to plastic clamshells. a convenient feast huddled within. Sit on plastic chairs around plastic tables draped with plastic. Use plastic spoons to heap food on plastic plates. Devour it with plastic forks and knives. Pour soda from plastic bottles into plastic cups and suck it up with plastic straws while the baby suckles on a plastic soother.
My name is Therese Mason-Pierre, and I'm going to be reading 2 poems. The first poem was published in the Watch Your Head anthology and is called We Will Tell Them of Our Dominion. First, we will tell them of our dominion. We will tell them of the web peeling back in the heavens, the sun's maw radiating. We will tell them we can see the air. We will tell them green turned brown and gray. We will tell them green covered the earth. We will tell them of plastic islands. We will tell them of sands too hot to inhabit. We will tell them of where people cannot hold their breath forever. We will tell them of undulating obituaries. We will tell them of backroom deals, of slow-moving cogs. We will tell them of childhood depression. We will tell them of corporate footprints, handprints, fingers in pies stained red. We will tell them of mass delusion. We will tell them of moral misbehavior. We will tell them of fears for marble over feather and fur. We will tell them about the non-identity problem. We will tell them of the powerful two-faced. We will tell them why the scientists cried. We will tell them why the philosophers cried. We will tell them why the parents cried. We will tell them of carbon dioxide shouts, of splintered protests. We will tell them of tear gas, of turned heads. We will tell them of laws broken. We will tell them of backs broken. We will tell them of turning. Later, we will tell them the oil barons are dead. We will tell them the guardians fought back. We will tell them a panacea was birthed from the Amazon ash. We will tell them blood is not translucent, but still pumping. We will tell them the ocean is still loud. We will tell them we relocated the sacred. We will tell them we refined our brains. We will tell them the sun is everything. We will tell them we were sorry. We will tell them we know why the sky is blue. And my second poem is called So Far. A pastor on TV held his arms up so high it startled him, asked the congregation if God was with them. My mother, later on, was content to consider this disease a curse. I prefer a lesson. I long for valueless assessment, intimidation, the cloudy gospel of science and its disciple tools. Across the timeline, as brothers were felled, I asked my friends if they loved me. No one is allowed to publish my unpublished work, I said, unconvincingly, to no one, a lie. Every hour, someone wonders where sense danced off to. People compare this year to a century prior, how loud they sang back then. It is as if we are all rediscovering fatigue, the way our breath crawls into our chambers, the push of our pencils across the page. We watch those who soldier on with empty, quiet rage. Who talks about when this is over? When this is over, I intend to drill holes into my ears, buy my lover the most expensive thing I can afford, buy a bathing suit, go to therapy, confess my sins. Thank you.
So thank you so much for having me. I'm going to read an excerpt from the book I'm working on now called Amateur Kittens Dreaming Solar Energy, which is also what I have in the amazing anthology Watch Your Head. And it begins like this. If humanity survives, which is unlikely, people will want to know what it was like. This feeling that the end was no longer happening in some distant future, but was basically happening now. The conversations quoting scientists who had warned us before it was too late, but had not known how to summon enough political will for enough people to act, for a large enough number of people to heed their far too prescient warnings. The conversations in which we tried to reassure each other in the knowledge that despair or hopelessness would solve nothing, and were in fact the emotions, understandable as they might be, that were the exact opposite of what was required. They will want to know what it was like, in search for insights as to why we didn't do more to save them, to save ourselves. We will want to know what it was like. I am sitting here staring out the window on a calm Monday evening. At the moment, it is like nothing. It is like every other unmemorable Monday evening I am able to recall. This week has been unseasonably cool, a relief, a break from the heat of the previous weeks. I am living without internet at home because I'm too addicted to the internet and, if I had it, I would be staring at it now, completely mesmerized by the screen, instead of writing these words. I of course wonder if there's any point in writing these words. Historically, literature was built by writers who each had at least some feeling there was a chance their writing might live on, that someone might continue to read them far into the future. Statistically, the odds for this were not good, and therefore literature has always been built layer by layer upon misguided fantasies of posterity. But sitting here with no internet, staring mindlessly out the window, it is extremely difficult for me to imagine any distant future in which someone might be reading these words. Yet imagine it I do, because I'm a writer, and therefore I can't help myself. And when I imagine it, I also can't help but feel their hunger, their longing to know just what it is like, right here, right now, and I search desperately, both within myself and directly out the window at the quiet street in front of me, searching for something to tell them. If I was online, I would see the glaciers in Iceland are melting and the forests in the Amazon are burning. I already know the glaciers are melting and the forests are burning. I know, and everyone I know also knows. Such knowledge requires action, but the actions immediately available to us don't feel especially clear. Those fighting for the continued use of oil and plastic have considerably more power and resources than all of us protesting against them. But of course, giving up would be equally insane. And I'll stop there. Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Ching-Yi Chen, and I'm going to read a piece called Lantern Letter Uzuihitsu. My people, I see you across street, porch people, huddled under brick archway, watching what pours from sky. Waiting in water, what circuits it carries, mostly numb, small, what might feel like circuits end. Stay home. Watch streets filling up and draining and filling up again. My neighbor with no shoes and an umbrella knock on doors to locate whose car in the street flooding up. He knocked on our door in another one, fleeting back, knocked a few minutes before and said, "Hi, I'm your neighbor." We miss what's been paved over, all branches holding down our dirt, keeping paths flowing away. A lake in library parking lot, women calling to each other over and above it, heading to their free computer classes. My people of the flashing lights, pulsating throbs, carbon monoxide, methane, oxides of nitrogen. Cousins released 180,565 up into stream, 287,453 emissions. These are among us too, carried into our stories, if we would have only sung to find each other, or taught ourselves to read the waves. If only grown resistant skin, hard-fired to stand through ravenous beetles, stripping off all trees, 33 trillion gallons. What slugs, what acoustic activities, swallowed and sat, stared down with glass eyes. Vow to share our 4 teaspoons of coffee, open back door at your knock. Lend the orange cords, handheld pumps, small towels to slick off oil anomalies. Watch for rising sheen and horizon. Melting glacier to remember its full and terrible man-eating weight. To walk through rain, down boulders, singing lines of poetry to the bears, announcing, "Hey, hey, we are here, don't worry, nothing to see, nothing to eat." If I see you coming, I vow to slow down, walk step beside you, not leave you waiting through sluck, not leave you stacked chair highs for rescue. Hundreds climb silent up the highways looking for more silence. I'm done with fleeing. Even as you walk beside me, I feared your ever-growing branches would wild out my own tin. I kept saying thank you, nice to pass and cross and leave taking. You waited for me, the only two large clumsies under a finally darkening midnight sky, saying hello again, hello. I vow an impossible hello. Some of the poem uses quoted words from Alexis Pauline Gumbs' M Archive after the end of the world. Thank you for listening.
Oh, darlings, when hasn't life been expendable? Another train departs, tossed on a heap of disposables, cell phones, plastics, mountains. There is no law, only the moneyed. This too shall pass. We already know the ending. We've seen it, left before the credits. Just one click. A darkened theater. Why did you unfollow me? You unfriended me, bitch. The price of the ticket. To see what might happen, any surprises, plot twists, shot in glorious black and white, light projected, a fresh stream, when there was free water to drink. Can I have a glass of water? Water. Some water, please. You only think you're tired. The entire sick fucking world is tired of this, all of this. Maybe I'll text my friend Christopher, see if they're tired too.
Hi, my name is Manahil, and I'm here to share two poems with you. The world ends for good this time. First, it was winter, and winter refused to end. The solstice came, then the equinox. But days did not cool. They did not give precious extra minutes of light. Just clouds, and clouds grayed sidewalks for months. Then it was summer, and summer did not end. We celebrated its day, but we should not have. The leaves turned yellow, and that should have been our sign. But an extra day, an extra few precious hours at the end of the world. We basked in it as we marched with our signs, sipped iced coffee when we should have wrapped our hands up in wool. The summer ends late, but winter comes early. And this is what we give: a snow-covered field. The world ends in white and solar flares. It is when we do away with the in-betweens, the equilibriums of red leaves and flower beds, of rain, 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 find ourselves huddled together in a corner cafe, on carpets and couches, find a way back to the physicality of each other. I awake when the birds tell me they want to dream. 1. A form gathers sweat on every surface. Skin touch feathers touch skin. Wool wings apart. Leaf piles of quills outside bedroom window. Hot air blows around. 2. It is springtime. Animals come out of hiding. 3. I try for lucidity through sachets of promised tea. Aftermath of sex lies in warm laundry piles. A bird tells me not to worry. It sings a melody in my ear just before I wake. I can't help but listen. 4. The bird is the first to believe me when I say I spun clouds into silkworms the night before. Every house was a beacon lit up, beyond mesh, behind reflection of candlelight in smoke-screened sky. 5. Chlorophyll can't handle early dawn rays. 6. I match the bird's tune with a wooden flute. It tells me, please stop. Some songs are not mine to play. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ray Armentrout. I want to thank the editors and the organizers for inviting me and for publishing me. I'm going to read a couple of poems from my new book, Conjure. This first one is in the anthology. Speculative fiction. The idea that producing a string of nonsense syllables while pointing toward an object may cause that object to change is common in children on the verge of language. The idea that force exists only as an interaction between objects, while an object is a kind of kink in a force field. The idea that if one survives X number of years, one will live to see how things turn out, or even that things end well. In the future, we will face new problems. How will we represent the variety of human types once all the large animals are gone? As sly as a mother? As hungry as an orphan? Notice, the way a gesture used to ward off trouble became cheerful waving. There was so much looming and vanishing to take note of, always. We felt like play actors before we knew what we were about, and after. Turns out the mummy's curse is real. You pump thick death out of the ground and burn it, it kills you. But in all the movies, curses are a cheap plot trick. The doofus who can't read the hieroglyph dies first, and no one misses him, them. We were born yesterday. We're sorry. This next one is also in the anthology. On growth. Dressed all in plastic, which means oil, we're bright-eyed, scrambling for the colored cubes spilled on the rug's polymer. Inside each is a tiny car. When we can't unscrew the tops, we cry for help. We're optimists. To sleep is to fall into belief. Airing even our worst suspicions may be pleasurable. We are carried, buoyed. In sleep, the body can heal itself, grow larger. Creatures that never wake can sprout a whole new limb, a tail. This may be wrong. Split. There are pockets of apocalypse, invaginations. Don't wince. I know you've always appreciated correspondence, the dormant stage of contagion. Some say truth is a form of parasitism. It is what it is. Distal and proximal halves split down the midrib of a leaf. Startle reflex. Ford's robo-dogs roam the factory floor and enjoy a good belly rub. People are startled to discover that their inner monologues are ghost-written. A sentence that once made sense and now does not appears haunted. Experts are surprised to learn sparrows across North America have changed their tune. Let's just make it to the end. Everyone's riveted by the shock of the disaster victims, the way they search for words. And then this is the last one. Too much information. Deers, the backwards facing S, a decoration in the iron rail, was here before I came, with its extra curlicues at each end, and a miniature version of itself, like a fetus, affixed to its middle. I'm telling you more, perhaps, than you need to know. The sun on the rail's inner curves is a private matter, something like love, despite the roar of the nearby freeway. I mix love up with safety. It's hard to come by good ideas while California goes up in flames. It's hard to have a new idea when temps in LA rival those in Iran. I can't say anything more original than gender reveal party sparks massive wildfire in tender dry forest. You never know what will matter next. Pack everything.
Hi, this is Carrie Ann Learn, and I'm going to be reading from my essay, Writing in a Dangerous Time. Of story. Some writers have written dystopia of the after effects of catastrophe. Whether this is a climate crash or a humanity crash, we also need to think about what to write in the time in between the transition, the ways we will change as we are changing. The change will be rapid and slow. When I think of the time before Trump was elected to now, it could have been a million years or a minute. The temporal becomes something else in dangerous times, when we are unprepared for how deeply we can sink, how deeply it cuts. And so, as writers, we play with time. There is theory in storytelling, so there is deep knowledge that found in our literature. Leanne Simpson writes that elders have said that everything we need to know is encoded in the structure, content, and context of Indigenous stories, including an ethics and responsibility. And so we need to make more space for these stories and those that are yet to come. Even if you are not Indigenous or colonized, we may begin to free ourselves from the confines of colonial logic, structures, and forms, and return to the communal of relationality. We, as Frantz Fanon indicated, must attend to the colonial wound. The wound that is also evident on the land, the waters that will soon no longer sustain us because of the same colonial and neoliberal violence that is and has been enacted on human bodies. We need to free our imagination from the trajectories of violence and destruction in order to write with an agency towards a different future. If our work is not about this witnessing and touching on a deeper understanding for our humanity, a shared dignified humanity for all of us, then what is it for? Dion Brand says that we write in order to transform, and this touches me deeply. At the end, we need to banish the idea of a return to safety. Perhaps the task is not to write ourselves back to an illusion, but to a transformation. The role of writing, the role of art, has this special task. As we proceed, we will regather the most essential things, and we will write more love stories, our comedies that are shot through our tragedies, our betrayals, our pride. I hope there will be new ways of seeing, thinking, loving, even as we remember. We will have choices to make. Will we be generous? Will we be just? How will we act when we are afraid? Our literature will reflect all of this. Of relationship. We need audacity in order to rewrite the world. But what kind of audacity? A hero's journey? I am rethinking this metaphor and narrative. I am turning the central protagonist around so she can look at others, embrace, engage, understand that she is born in a nest of relations, and her heroism and courage is not a solo trek. Instead of being a good person or a good writer, I have started to think instead of fostering good relations. I count myself in the company of brilliant contemporary writers who are also wrestling with these preoccupations. The ideas weave like conversation through our stories, poetry, and essays. There is a genealogy in our literary histories, and this genealogy makes all things possible, generating language that I can hold and build. I believe our words are a commune also for readers. If we are dreaming the same dream, how miraculous, how incredible. Perhaps I have always been hoping that I am working towards the same dream or path towards something that feels like love, life, like justice, like the human. Writing possible futures must necessarily lead us back to relationship, and this includes non-human forms. I have felt the need to slow things down, to walk a snail's pace. On that encounter with the butterfly, I thought how strange that I offered a right of way to a butterfly. But isn't this so? Isn't this the most basic of things, the coterminous inhabitation of the space and time? Perhaps we can still retrieve and renew the possibilities of relationship that does not further harm, but can reimagine the relationship between a woman and a butterfly that would exceed my understanding of the world as I know it. I'll ask again, what audacity do we need? I'll offer my answer, we need each other. Thank you.
This is Kai Kello coming to you live from my living room in Montreal. It's nice to be here. It's nice to participate in the launch of Watch Your Head. So a big thank you to the editors and a big up to all of the other writers who are included. It's very nice to be in the pages of this work alongside you. And I'm going to read to you from a section from the work that's included in the anthology. The work that I'll read from is drawn from this book, Magnetic Equator, which came out in early 2019. So we're going to flash back to 1990. Cross-legged in front of the chrome, Akai hi-fi. I sipped hashish smoke, plugged the coiled cable into the jack, planted my head in the phones. The cruiser arrived at the station. Police opened the car door and Griffin attempted to flee. Their black mouths opened over my ears, transfixed me with their holy warble in tongues. 2 police officers picked Mr. Stonechild up for creating a disturbance. 4 days later, the cassette clicked and spun. This communion with slowed, magnetic sound my salvation. Sound tongued my oracle. Outraged that a young black man could be fatally shot while complying. In a slow, vertiginous whirl, an analog machine speaking in cyclic stereo. My cranium was covered in electric needles that reached. The Saskatoon Police Department preferred not to know what happened. Up through a hole in the ozone layer, the singer's patois leaped between poles of plutonian midnight winter. A white mob in LaSalle stoned a convoy of Mohawks, mostly women, children, and the unconscious house, the snow burning, the winter moon a haze of heat, an amplifier's bulb overdriven, melting night. His body was found with just one shoe on. He had frozen to death on the outskirts. My eyelids low against the glow, green lashes casting shade over white sub-zero dunes, flakes spiraling down from the stucco. Seniors leaving Kanawage for what they had hoped would be safety, amid rumors of an impending sealing, through a waking dream of being nothing, being a void, ordered to stop or risk being shot. He complied with the order and turned around. Seconds later, an empty body in which smoke, blue reverberation, and ash float. Inside the music was a hiss, the hiss of hash smoke released by heat, the hiss of 3M tape riding a slow reel, the ambient release of doubt in the darkened half of the brain, the dust and static crackling, a hiss that engulfed the sound, a hiss that became a white roar, cloud or air or smoke drubbing inside me, inside of which there must have been a door, inside the cascading foam of Kai Chor. Analog memory become white noise, density of whispers in both ears. This, my thesis. There must have been a door inside somewhere. If I could pass through and find myself in the past. But the whispered babble dropped into a rumble, a pattern, a bass line that skanked forth and locked with a drum's low kick. Maybe the drum's black period was, but the door was closed and the music took shape again. Mobile architecture lighter than air, brass wafting over the cyclic song, and I listening, feeling almost found. I'd almost reached through no return to touch, but there was nothing there, only space, an ever-receding gleam, the dying luminosity of Alpha Centauri, winked out of existence like species, but still lingering in the onyx drip of a dream. Maybe I was dreaming. Maybe the smoke swirled to a drop, the skeletal sound a supple graph of notes, of pure time and form, steady on the air. I am 400 years from home, with stardust and salt mixing in my Rizla, high by the mute dial's nocturnal fizzle. Thank you. I wish everyone the best with the launch of the anthology, and watch your head.
Hey everyone, my name is Jordan Abel and this is Phoenix. I am going to read Empty Spaces 3. On the shore, there is a deep, narrow chasm that leads down into some other, darker place. On the shore, there are black rocks and roots and mud and tree stumps and broken bones and broken branches. On the shore, a river cuts through the trees. Sometimes there is a moment. Sometimes there are other, softer places. At this very moment, there is lightning, and then there is a tumbling in the air a mile above us. At this very moment, white lightning breaks open the sky and runs straight through the open heavens into some other place. In the forest, there is a deep hollow, a gully with a dozen branching pathways to follow. There are no shapes here other than the trees. There is nothing here that breaks apart. Somewhere deep in the gully, there is a soft, dark place. Sometimes 100 feet up in the air, there is just light and clouds and cold droplets of water. Some right angles run parallel to the river. Some right angles cut through the forest. Sometimes the water cuts through the rocks near the northern summit. Sometimes the water works through these rocks. Some 100 feet in the air, there is no danger. There is only the broken and the splintered and the open, sprawling land. There is scattered driftwood and the scent of roses and mossy rocks and tree stumps and broken branches and wet leaves. There are glimpses of roses and rocks and shrubs. There is a steep, rugged ascent. Somewhere there is a path that winds among the black rocks and trees. Somewhere out there is the scent of roses. Somewhere out there is another forest, another river, another mouth. Somewhere out there is the taste of danger. Somewhere out there is the open, sprawling land and the endless horizon. Somewhere out there is the wilderness. Somewhere out there at some reasonable distance are scenes of greenery and nature and glimpses of mountain ranges that disappear just as suddenly as they appear. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sanchari Sur, and I'm one of the editors of the Watch Your Head anthology, soon to be out from Coach House Books. And today I'm going to introduce you to two organizations. Basically, all the sale from the anthology is going to be donated to these organizations. The first one is Raven, and Raven raises legal defense funds for Indigenous people who enforce their rights and title to protect their traditional territories. Through their public education programs, Raven also collaborates with Indigenous people to eliminate environmental racism and foster a greater understanding of Indigenous rights and governance. You can find them at raventrust.com. The second organization is Climate Justice Toronto. It's a youth-led collective across the Greater Toronto area fighting for a Green New Deal, Indigenous sovereignty, migrant justice, and good jobs for all. And they're doing this through a powerful movement to stop climate crisis. Their fight is fueled by confronting the root causes of this crisis, namely capitalism, colonialism, and white supremacy. You can find them at linktr.ee/climate-justice-to. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, dear poets. What an extraordinary evening. Watch Your Head has arrived. A warning, a movement, a collection born of protest. This is a call to climate justice action. Find it at Coach House Books, here at Knife Fork Books. Catherine, thank you so much. Alana, Tally, thank you for handling the technical. Darlings, I see all of your names here. I am so grateful that you attended tonight. This has been extraordinary. Thanks for holding this space dear with us. We'll talk to you soon. Be well, okay? Bye for now.